Every month there are tons of games released on mobile. We at GameRanks like to sort through the best and show you what we think is worth playing. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, the 10 best free iOS and Android games of April 2019. Just a quick disclaimer, we used to do this as two different videos, one for the best free games and one for the best paid games. Now we're just doing the paid games as bonus because there just aren't enough of them released every month, and we feel like it's just best to do it all in one swoop. That in mind, number 10 is Rest in Pieces. Okay, so this game requires some serious explanation. Gameplay's super simple. You tap one side of the screen, and your character swings back and forth. Tap on the left, swings to the left, tap on the right, swings to the right. Avoid the obstacles. Simple, right? Completely simple. Until you look at it for a second, and then it is puzzlingly horrifying. It's a game where literally everything is nightmare-inducing. There's a horrific clown off in the background, and everything is scary. Everything is dark, everything is creepy, and your character is just a porcelain doll. So if you hit an obstacle, guess what happens? Well, have you ever dropped a porcelain doll on the floor? Yeah, that's exactly what happens, and I don't know why, but it's super unsettling when it happens in this game. Number 9 is a game called Squatbot. This is basically a 2-button platformer. Both sides of the screen function as a single button. You hold the phone horizontally and use your thumbs to play. Now, it might not immediately sound like something different, however, I'm gonna go ahead and say that because of the way this functions, where there isn't actually any walking, there's just jumping in a certain direction, that it actually plays out pretty uniquely. It's got 2 modes. It's got an endless mode and a level-based mode. I like the levels in the level-based mode that kind of feel like they were designed for an endless runner, but this game is not an endless runner. It's sort of a uniquely controlled platforming game that plays out much more traditionally, and I think that the level design works really well for it. And it's a ton of fun. Squatbot is currently out on iOS and Android, so check it out. Number 8 is Full Metal Monsters, a 5v5 PvP shooter that is something new. Now, just in of itself, shooter and something new, that's intriguing. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that even though I think the concept itself is quite different, it has the personality of something from, let's say, a Nintendo 64 game. So it's a shooter, team-based, kinda hero-based, where you ride dinosaurs, either organic, fully mechanical, or somewhere in between, augmented ones, and you wreak havoc on the other team. Different dinosaurs have different types of weapons and powers, and honestly, I just can't stress this enough to you. It's such a different game, and it's a ton of fun. Like I said, it really does have the personality of, let's say, a Nintendo 64 or a GameCube game. I think if you dropped it in on one of those consoles, obviously with much worse graphics, that is to say, it has good graphics, it would fit right in. And I frankly imagine it to have a ton of replay value. I hope that this is a game that doesn't just stay on mobile. I think this is one that probably could be on PC or consoles as a free-to-play and have a pretty good time. I enjoy the hell out of this. It's great. Seriously, if you like shooters of any kind, try it. It is something new. Full Metal Monsters is out on iOS and Android now. Number 7 is Pigeon Wings Strike. If you remember back in 2017, there was a game called Pigeon Wings that did a phenomenal job of a side-scrolling shooter in the air with an absolutely chaotic, speed-oriented, kind of wild, unpredictable style. They had added an endless mode to that game. They weren't satisfied with it, and they created a game in of itself to be that endless mode. Now, this is probably the one game that has gotten tilt controls right. I don't know how or why, but they're the ones that figured it out, and it works really well. It does have an alternate control scheme if you don't like it, but I have a sneaky suspicion that you will. Pigeon Wings Strike is charming in its art style, but way more serious than you might expect. I have a ton of fun with it. It's out on iOS exclusively right now. Number 6 is Rumble Stars. So to describe this, I'm going to say imagine Clash Royale, Angry Birds, and soccer/football combined into one thing. And when I say soccer/football, I mean what the rest of the world calls football and North America calls soccer. So in truth, if you like one of those games and think that it might work with the other games, that's like all you really need. It will work out for you. If you need a little bit more, the main crux of the action is positioning your characters that you can level up in the same way you might in Clash Royale over the course of a bunch of games to get the ball into the goal. Movement is very Angry Birds-ish. You get a dotted line showing you where the character goes, you try to get them there, and you try to use their bumping physics to get the ball into the goal. It's simple, but it's not simple. But I will tell you this, it is a ton of fun. Rumble Stars is out on iOS and Android now. Play it. Number 5 is PGA Tour Golf Shootout, which I'm going to go ahead and say is a pretty simple game. You can leave your club selection up to automatic, although maybe I would not do that because it's not perfect at all. But selection is super easy. It's got nice graphics, I wouldn't say the best, and it's got 4 real-life golf courses that are modeled, to my knowledge, accurately. It's just a really fun game. I'm not going to say that it's going to blow your mind in any way. It's just an extremely competent golf game, and as far as free-to-play goes, that's pretty rare. Now, does that mean it's perfect? Absolutely not. It's got its own set of unique issues, mostly physics-based, but it's certainly better physics than a lot of other free golf games. So if you're looking for one that works pretty much right, this is the one to play. PGA Tour Golf Shootout is out on iOS and Android now. Number 4 is Cyber Hunter, which is a new battle royale game. I know there are plenty of those, but this one I think benefits from the experience of having played a lot of them. I feel like the developers have really indulged the genre as far as being very familiar with the various well-worn tropes, because they brought a lot of new stuff in. This is heavily based in sci-fi, and I would say that pretty much all of the guns, all of the gadgets, and all of that very much represent that. There's airboards and gliding and various technological weaponry that you're not going to see in another game. Some of it even resembles magic powers, but if I were to start listing it, it would go on forever, which is great, in my opinion. There's also parkour in the game that works. I feel like that's something that has to be noted when you say there's parkour in the game. When it works, it's really awesome. The graphics in this game are extremely smooth for a mobile game. I had a hell of a good time with this, and I could see myself playing it for quite a while. Number 3 is Bombastic Brothers, an action platformer that will remind you of Metal Slug. It certainly reminded me of Metal Slug, because it certainly takes its inspiration from that. However, I would almost say it's a little bit more steeped in a mobile look, but in my eyes, it even kind of reminded me of Rocket Knight Adventures in some ways. More in the art style and animation and execution of stuff than the actual gameplay. But one way or the other, it's really not a problem. I like Metal Slug and Rocket Knight Adventures. It's very simple. It offers you quite a few different modes. There's a story-based, level-based mode, daily waves, a versus mode that's probably the least good mode. It's not very skill-based, let's say. More stat-based. Very limiting. But any complaints I have are really, really minor. I had a hell of a time with this game. Bombastic Brothers is currently only on iOS. Hoping it comes to Android because I think a lot of people on there would really enjoy it. But if you have iOS, give it a shot. It's good. Number 2 is Review Starlight Relive, which continues the story of the anime Review Starlight. I am not going to pretend that I have watched that, but I don't know that it was really necessary to enjoy the game. It's a turn-based JRPG gacha type game. The game maintains a consistency over 3 different art styles, which is very nice. It's also fully voiced, so it really retains the feel of an anime. And I haven't beaten this game. I'm going to try to, because so far I've found it fairly interesting. And I think if you like JRPGs or anime, it's a definite must try. It was a bit sparse this month, and it was a welcome thing to play. Review Starlight Relive is out on iOS and Android. Finally, number 1 is Frag Pro Shooter, a game that takes a very different approach at the Overwatch type game and puts you in charge of the whole team on your own. You have 5 people on a team, you build the team from a card deck, and there's how your mobile mechanics fit into the game, the Clash Royale-oriented deck building. But when you're inside the fight, you and 4 AI-controlled teammates go after the other team with the intent on lowering their score to 0 or keeping it below yours until the time runs out. If you die, you go to a new character, and frankly, it's seamless. It really plays well. It's an auto-shoot game, so you're not having to trigger, you're just having to aim, but it never feels phony. It doesn't feel like it's doing stuff for me, and I really like that. Also, I really like that it doesn't even try to look like any other shooting game. It looks like a sports game. It's fun as hell. If you're looking for like a mobile shooter that really feels at home, this is it. Frag Pro Shooter is out on iOS and Android now. And our bonus pay games include Whispers of a Machine, which bills itself as a sci-fi Nordic noir. It's basically a pixel art point-and-click adventure game, and it's great. I loved it. I'll definitely play it the whole way through. Whispers of Machine is out on iOS and Android for $4.99. Next is Cultist Simulator, which is a roguelike narrative card game in which you basically draw cards and attempt to plot out a story. It's intuitive, it's not that hard. It bills itself as challenging as it does not give you a tutorial. It's as part of the challenge is figuring out how to play. I would say the figuring out how to play isn't that hard. If you've played any card/board game, you pretty much know what you're getting. It's much more open-ended, and I think that is what makes it interesting. Cultist Simulator is out on iOS and Android for $6.99. And finally, Distraint 2, a 2D side-scrolling puzzle platformer that takes its simplicity and gives you a sort of actually unnerving dark story with a healthy dose of dark humor. Think Silent Hill plus Twin Peaks a bit. Obviously, it doesn't look like either of those things, but it does play out tonally a lot like both of those things. It's very simple, like the interface is super simple, the gameplay is super simple, but it's so worth it, it's really enjoyable, and Distraint 2 is out on iOS and Android now for $6.99. Which iOS and Android games did you play this month? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and if you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on GameRanks.